Hi, in this video we're going to go over Heroclix, what the game is, how to start, and play in your first game. We will also give you, the viewer, multiple ways to play. Let's get into it. Welcome and thanks for joining us in this journey into mystery, that's a Thor reference, into Heroclix, a tabletop game that meshes chess, dice, and deck building of sorts, but with figures. No, not those figures. These figures. Be sure to stay tuned until the end for a special announcement. The deck building aspect comes into the building of a team. The chess is in reference to having two opposing players maneuver their figures into position for attack. This is also the time where the dice rolling game takes over. The attack sequence is not like chess, where the movement of the piece denotes an attack, but a dice roll calculates the outcome of the attack in either a hit or a miss scenario. Do you have to be a fan? No, you don't. Being a fan of comic books, movies, or memorabilia does not mean you can't play the game, but it does help. Being a fan helps bring those heroic fantasies closer to being realized. Many players may not know the figure that they're playing with or against. This brings more knowledge to that character and the lore that comes along with it. If you are curious about a certain figure, then by all means look them up. Go to DC or Marvel database and you can find the figure that you're looking for. This might become your new favorite character. The game of Heroclix is fun and easy to learn, but very difficult to master. The rules when it comes to powers can be daunting at first, but as a player, you will soon begin to understand and memorize what each power can do. With 48 total powers, there are no worries, because a rules and abilities card and a quick reference guide is readily accessible in a starter set or by other players that you may meet. They're also available to download from the Heroclix website and other Heroclix community sites such as HC Realms. Speaking of community, the Heroclix community is a very friendly and welcoming to new players. So if you ever get a chance, go over to the forums of these pages and people will be ready to sit there and help you with any questions that you may have. So we're here to help newcomers to the game and for those wondering what this cool tiny little miniatures game is. If you're still interested, let's move on to the figures. Each figure has a combat dial or Oreo base that contains a plethora of information as your figure is dealt damage. The dial is clicked or turned. Once the KO line is revealed on the dial, then that character is knocked out and removed from play. The combat values on a dial are essential for that figure. Each one represents a different aspect. The speed value is the number of spaces that a figure can move in a turn. The attack symbol is the base number added to your dice roll for an attack. Next to your defense icon is where you will find what your opponent needs to match or exceed to deal damage from their attack roll. The damage symbol is how much damage or clicks that a figure deals to another figure after a successful attack roll. Lastly, the printed number with a lightning bolt is the figure's range value, and the bolts represent the total number of figures you may target who are within the printed range. Note that if a figure has a printed range value of 0, then that figure may only make close combat attacks. You may have noticed that some combat values have a colored box around them. This box indicates a power for that specific combat value. Now remember, all powers and abilities can be found on the powers and abilities card, either found on the website or in the starter pack of Heroclix, but not the Fast Forces set. The contents will be listed on the pack itself. There are 48 total powers that can be found in the powers and abilities, but you may have also seen a special white box on some of them that denotes a special power that is particular to that figure or team. and those powers can be found on that character's card. This power can be a combination of powers or a new power specific to that figure that no one else can use. Now, you are not to remember all the powers and abilities that are in this game. There's no way someone can remember or understand all the abilities in 1 or even 2 playthroughs. Take the time, learn the game, and enjoy a basic game with just a few powers that work. Figure out and understand how the mechanics of those powers are used. A starter set is a perfect place to start learning. For a game, the first turn or two will be about positioning or maneuvering your figures into a position of attack or defense. This may be positioning of a stealth figure into hindering terrain, or hiding a figure behind blocking terrain or a wall, or even setting up a figure for a running shot or a charge attack. It is important to note that a figure can only move in a turn or attack in a turn, unless that figure has an ability or a power that states that they can do both, such as running shot or charge. As the game goes on and figures have taken damage, you will see how the figure's powers or abilities have changed. It is important to know that a particular power you may like in a character does not mean that that power is available on their entire dial. Also, when that figure takes damage, the values will change as well, indicating that the figure has been weakened and more vulnerable for attack. This visual representation of the game is what makes Heroclix revolutionary in a tabletop game. Alright, so you got these figures. How do I build my force? Well, when it comes to building your team of heroes or villains or both, the printed point value on the dial is what is used in assembling your force. Most common builds are 300 points. This is a normal tournament play. You can achieve this point value by having multiple figures that up to 300, or even just one solo 300 point figure. It is important, however, to note that even if that solo 300 point figure is strong, they could have multiple attacks on them to your 1, so plan accordingly. Now, to acquire more figures to choose from and to build your collection, Heroclix distributes numerous sets within each year. Each booster from a set will have 5 random figures within it. It is important knowing this when going on, because to know that a booster is a blind pool, just like Magic the Gathering or Pokemon cards, you do not know what figures are inside, but collecting various figures is part of the fun. Trading is greatly encouraged. So if you're still interested in playing, feel free to hit the links in the description below and get started with a practice game with a starter set with a friend. Now, it comes with all the essentials that you need to start a game for 2 players: map, dice, tokens, and a full set of figures for 2 full teams. Stay tuned for more Heroclix descriptions and lessons, and also for a new game concept created here at Primal Nerds that utilizes Heroclix and an RPG element created by us. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and like this video. Later, nerds.